Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back from the MLG studios here in New York City. It's getting a little bit darker outside, but we're all wide awake and ready to watch some of the winners match. Of course, we got Alicia versus Snute. What a stage that has been set. A best of 3 to determine who's going to advance on to the round of 8.
Snute's already pulled an amazing win against Nesty. A lot of people said Nesty was a favorite to win the group, so Snute's already beating him. Alicia's his next challenge, and Alicia's already shown a great PvZ style based on Void Rays.
Yeah.
Does Snute have the counter to Void Rays up his sleeve?
You know, based on his a little bit of hesitation from him in the interview, which is perfectly fine. I don't want him to give away any strategies. You know, it sounds like he definitely does have something under his belt. It's definitely a good advantage to be able to watch your opponent play a matchup that you're about to play. So, you know, I wonder how that's going to affect things as far as, okay, Snute was able to watch a PvZ that his opponent played. That's the matchup they're playing right now. Alicia, not necessarily the same. Of course, he was able to observe a ZVZ between Snute and Nesty. So, I don't know, as far as that's concerned, do you think Snute has a slight advantage right there?
I feel
just based on that alone.
He definitely does. And actually, Alicia, in his interview, he said that he really, most of his knowledge of Snute's Zerg vs. Protoss is based on that one Pro League match Snute played against Alicia against Free. And of course, you know, everyone in Snute himself would honestly say, you know, that wasn't his best performance, and that's only a single map.
Yeah.
So seeing that one map, Alicia could have a misconstrued idea of Snute's real ZVP skill set.
Yeah, you know, Snute's a guy who wants to be all over the map. And again, the story from the series between Alicia and Sen, I think, was, you know, finding that third pylon, because it seemed like every game Sen just completely missed it. And it seems like it could set you so far back if you have to cancel that third. That's what snowballed everything in both the games that Sen lost. He had to cancel those thirds, and Alicia able to take advantage and pull a victory.
Well, you know, one thing that's definitely true about Snute is he's no stranger to droning heavily early on, which is something that Sen avoided because of the threat of those proxy pylons. So if Snute can drone heavily and catch those proxy pylons, so there's no threat to kill the third base, he's going to be in great position going into the mid-game.
Of course, guys, this is, again, a very important match. The winner of this best of 3 will advance to the round of 8. Of course, coming one step, first of all, a berth at the regional season finals. Of course, the WCS America seasonal finals, which will be in studio, I think, on June 1st. The final 8 will be playing in that. And of course, the top 5 from that tournament get a berth in the global season finals in Korea. So we have some very, very important matches on our hands between all these players. And again, each and every day we'll have WCS America coming towards you starting at 6 p.m. Eastern. All the players are going to be here live in studio. We even got a shot of Moonglade actually in the player room preparing for his match tomorrow. So plenty of exciting StarCraft 2 coming your way each and every day here from WCS America. But yeah, it's going to be Snute versus Alicia. And something else I wanted to talk about a little bit was the factor of nerves when you're playing in a very important tournament, a very important match. And of course, you have been in that situation before. Can you talk a little bit about how you personally deal with the nerves of participating in important matches, and you know, how can you improve from event to event?
Well, you know, it's very player-specific. You know, Snute said he has a lot of nerve problems in tournaments, and that's one of his weaknesses at these live events. He mentioned that, especially against Nesty, who's one of his idols. Some players don't have quite as many nerve problems. For me, myself, I'm very kind of mentally calm all the time, no matter what's happening. So I never had quite the nerve problems, but there's a lot of players who've really been hit hard by that. And one of the best things to do is just try to block all the outside stuff going on. Block out, you know, your opponent sitting right there next to you. Block out the stage and the setting and the atmosphere, and just focus entirely on your best game. And if you can kind of zoom your mental vision to only the screen and keyboard and basically your interactions with the game itself, it can really make it feel more like you're playing at home, but you're even more focused than you normally might be.
So, you know, talking from Snute's point of view, what kind of strategies do you expect to see from him based on what he has seen from Alicia? If you were the Protoss player in Snute's situation, how would you approach this match?
The Zerg player in Snute's, or the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. I guess if you played Zerg, right.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Like,
I mean, so what Snute has to do is he has to study Alicia's play. And he has to pick the good parts and bad parts of how Sen approach Alicia.
Right.
So he has to think, okay, if Alicia tries to take these thirds fairly quickly, while he's getting a lot of Void Rays. What I want to do is put on a lot of pressure to try to deny the third as many times as I can, especially on Cloud Kingdom. Sen was so effective with those Zergling denials at the third base. But on the other hand, I need to make sure there's no proxy pylons up, step 1, so there's no like zealots canceling my third base. And then step 2 is be prepared for that 3 Void Ray Mothership Core hit squad, because we saw both Whirlwind and then also on Cloud Kingdom, that Void Ray hit squad took out a base on both those matchups. So he's got to come up with a counter to that. Maybe that's not getting roaches early, right? So just using speedings to take map control, deny proxy pylons, then getting faster Hydronus and using those to counter it. Or it could even be something like 3 base, trying to go to mutas as fast as possible and hoping you can get the mountain time to catch that Void Ray hit squad off guard.
All right, let's see what happens. The match has begun. This is the winner's match, a best of 3 to decide who's going to advance on to the round of 8. The first map is going to be Belshir Vestige. It's a very interesting game, a very interesting match, a map for at least game number 1. And we'll have to see what... All right. So, here we go. Alicia versus Snute. In the top left-hand location, we have, actually the bottom right-hand location, I changed my mind. We have the red Protoss player representing Team Axiom. He is Alicia. Of course, his opponent in the top left-hand location, we have your blue Zerg player representing Team Liquid, trying to become one of the only non-Koreans to make it to the round of 8 at WCS America by sheer statistical probability. He is Snute. Of course, best of 3 here. PBZ, Belshir Vestige.
This is the map that Alicia actually lost versus Sen.
You are correct.
And it was a really cool late game transition into Broodlords. And so that was the one map where we didn't mass Void Rays. You know, perhaps that was his downfall. Of course, Void Rays are good versus Ultras and Broodlords. Not quite so good against the Mass Queen play, although it did work out on Cloud Kingdom for Alicia. But going forward, is Snute going to do what Sen did with that Ultras tech? That is a build that's actually fairly popular on this map.
Looks like a Forge here at the Expo from Alicia. Could be trying to do some forward cannon shenanigans. But it looks like Snute not going for the 15 hatch, getting that pool down a little bit quicker, but the probe's still going to be annoying here at the natural.
You know, I kind of like this play from Alicia. Especially, you pointed out Snute was probably watching those earlier games, and Snute's going to be, you know, okay, he's going to go the Gateway Expand, Gateway Pressure, Void Ray. Mid-game he'll have, you know, less upgrades, but a stronger kind of tech army. And so Alicia's going to mix up the style, go to the Forge Expand, and any type of like pre-planned build Snute had to try to exploit Alicia's opening is pretty much thrown out the window now, as he's doing a different opening. That's
a great point. Really cool move from Alicia there, changing his strategy, realizing that his opponent identified exactly what he was doing in the previous matches. Ling's going to come out here and shoo this probe away. Of course, Snute decided to take that hatchery at his natural third base, or second hatch. And there he's going to put his third hatch at the natural expansion. So, how does this really affect a Zerg's play? You know, having to change the location of their natural hatchery, putting it a little bit further away.
Well, it's something that, first of all, you don't want to do against a Gateway Expand typically, because if they do put on a lot of aggression early, having that, you know, that your natural further away, if you want to get speed first and stuff, is going to make it more awkward to defend. But you can see Snute didn't decide to send a drone to the third until his overlord had seen the Forge coming up from Alicia. And so from here, it actually doesn't make that big a difference. You have to transfer the drones a little bit further away for your initial transfer, so you typically transfer less drones. And of course, the Queen has to go further away as well, so it's just a couple small disadvantages, but your build is really going to be fairly similar as you progress in the game.
See that Queen slowly but surely making her way towards that third base and getting that inject as fast as possible. Some drones being transferred over there as well, so you know we can consider a little bit of a lack of mining time since they have to go a little bit further. And here we see that oh so important probe from Alicia. And I feel like if Snute watched those last games, he should be able to identify where Alicia likes to set those pylons. So you know, if I was him, I would send a Zergling in that direction. But let's see if Snute carries through and is able to identify that.
that's something he's going to definitely want to do as the game progresses. Of course, because it was a Forge expansion, the warp gate timing is going to be a little bit later, so he doesn't have to worry about it quite as soon as Sen did. And also, in fact, I don't know if he's seen it. Has he seen that Stargate at the front of Alicia's base with those Zerglings? I don't think they've quite been able to see it. Oh, no, they have. They have.
No, wait.
Or, no, sorry, that's a side
cannon.
Yeah, sorry, that's a side player spot.
Oh, yeah.
My bad.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, they haven't quite seen a Stargate yet.
I think a Ling is
he
there.
Gonna see it?
I think he just saw it with that Ling.
Oh, definitely.
Yep, there
definitely. So this is actually very important.
Wow, that
timing.
Ling, what a hero.
And he's going to get into... no, he's not. He's going to get torn to pieces by Zell.
Yeah.
But seeing the timing of the Stargate is a very important move for Snute. With the Stargate being this fast, he knows for sure there's no gateway aggression early on. So he can make nothing but drones.
Yep.
And then in about a minute, or maybe half a minute, start building those spore crawlers.
He also spotted, obviously, the 2 gases at his opponent's natural expansion, which further confirms all of his suspicions of what exactly Alicia is doing. So, at the start of things here, Snute doing a great job, gets an edge as far as intel is concerned, able to drone as freely as he wants. Adding on a layer, adding on a Ro16 as well. Looks like no Evolution Chamber play just yet here from Snute, so not deciding to go for that mass link play that Zergs have been loving to do lately. So it looks like he might try to do... this is interesting. I wonder if he's just going to go mass-ling Roach to defend, to try to deny the third base of his opponent.
He's playing very macro-oriented right now. So, just going layer, Roach Runner. Roach Runner is important because there's +1 Zealots with 4 gateways. And Alicia does want to put on pressure. There's really 2 ways to follow up the fast target. One is immediate robotics, and then the second is 3 gateways and then robotics. And 3 gateways and robotics means you're looking to put on some pressure with Zealots. Of course, you might not kill the third, but any damage you can do is going to be damage that, of course, is great to accomplish.
All right, Phoenix is sweeping into the natural expansion there, getting shoved away by that Spore Crawler. That pylon we talked about earlier on the right-hand side of the map, the Zealots slowly being produced in that location. But Roaches are in the vicinity, so let's see if he can...
Roaches!
Oh, he's so close. He misses it.
Oh, no, and now the Zealots are heading to that third base.
Can he seize them now?
Oh, just now the Zealots are being spotted as they're running in here. Of course, he does have the Roaches out in the field.
He has 2 Queens there at his third.
How many more Zealots are being warped in? If the Zealots can take out the Spore Crawler, or the Queens, in fact, the Phoenix has then become a much greater threat. Great micro by Snute, though, keeping both those Queens back.
Alicia trying to take down some drones here with these 3 Zealots, doing a decent job of it. Up to 7 workers killed here for Alicia. Phoenix is still being a little bit annoying above, trying to isolate one of the Queens away from the spores. It is successful in doing that. One of the Queens taken down, popping into the air before falling to the ground.
Overall, though, an extremely successful defense by Snute.
Look at that hive timing.
Oh, that's a beautiful reaction, of course. If you know your opponent loves to do Void Rays or Void Ray Colossi, like we've seen actually from Alicia's teammate Crank loves the style as well. And he saw Alicia was really powering out the Void Rays in the last game as well, so going straight for the Vipers is a beautiful way to counteract this style of Protoss.
All right, Phoenix is taking down some Roaches here and there, being very annoying indeed. Meanwhile, the Lings finally spotting that pylon on the right-hand side of the map. Behind this, a 4th being taken here from Snute. All gas is taken at his initial 3 bases. Of course, gas gets exponentially more important as the game goes along for a Zerg player. Meanwhile, we have Alicia setting up his own 3rd base, getting 2 cannons there as well. It looks like Snute might be content with letting that finish. Might just take a 5th there on the left-hand side of the map. I wouldn't be upset with that at all.
I think Snute's going to wait about 2 minutes, and he's going to hit a 13-minute timing. It's going to have a lot of Hydralisks, a couple Vipers, and a bunch of Roaches as well. And he's going to try to hit before the Void Ray Colossi count gets too high. In fact, a Nidus Canal so he can hit with Queens as well. This is going to be a great technique. Of course, a Nidus here is primarily going to be used to both get some Queens in action and to reduce the rally time it takes for his units across the field. So he's going to be looking to put on some great pressure on the 3rd base, or in fact just anywhere, just looking to engage Alicia before Alicia can max out with high-tech Protoss units.
Of course, one of the tough parts of being a Zerg player on such a long map like Belshir Vestige is the time it takes to run across the map, especially when you're involving a composition with Hydras. So we see some Lings going across the field here, perhaps trying to provide vision across the map so he can set up that Nidus near his opponent's 3rd base and then start rallying the Hydras directly outside his opponent's 3rd. Alicia is going to need Colossi to deal with this composition, but again, once the Vipers get added on, he's almost going to need High Templar to try to feed back the Vipers so those abducts don't happen. We'll have to see how Alicia approaches this, a very delicate situation.
One thing that's really unique about what Snute's doing is he's replacing the Roach's role in this composition with mass queens. Of course, queens are going to be the tanking unit for the Hydras. In this case, of course, speedlings as well are going to help them out. And the queens have 7 range against air units, so they're actually pretty good against Voiders and Colossi.
Snute with a pretty cool strategy here. Alicia spotting that Nidus Canal. Going to come over to the left-hand side to his third base with his entire army. Stalkers, Void Rays, Sentries desperately trying to add on cannons, but look at this force here from Snute, adding on more and more Hydras, more and more Queens. Going to start setting up some creep as well. Might even send drones forward to add in some static D. And look at this behind this. He's evolving Enduring Locust, so looks like he wants to do a Swarm Host transition, but let's see what kind of damage he can do to this third base.
The creep's being set up. The more that creep spreads, more mobility the Queens will have. The Vipers are ready to start yanking units in. We're not going to see Snute commit to a big engagement. He's just going to try to pick away the tech units of Alicia using the Vipers.
Looking for the Abducts. Might try to nab that Mothership core, but we're going to let
Vipers
him go away.
Be careful.
The Phoenix is coming forward. Nice transfuse onto the Vipers. Snute is playing this very well so far. The Vipers looking for those Colossi. Alicia very aware. There's the Mothership core getting swung in there by the Vipers. Hydra's taking him out quite quickly. 6 Swarm Hosts in production behind this, so Snute definitely has a backup plan.
Alicia being very careful of his units, knowing the threat of the Vipers, and Snute not wanting to go through the choke that the Gateway provides for the Protoss, instead just circling on the bottom and picking away at the Protoss.
There's the Abduct onto the Colossi again, trying to take those down as fast as possible because of the supreme damage they do to a light-based composition in those Hydras. A lot more Roaches being added on too, and Snute is just sending his Swarm Host through the Nidus Canal.
Oh man, these Swarm Hosts are going to be very powerful once the Locust starts spawning, but Snute may be overextended a bit. Great force fields isolating a lot of his units, and Alicia's starting to trade fairly well here.
He's got to be careful, got to keep those Hydras alive, keep the Queens alive, so he has a way to protect the Swarm Host from his enemy. Here comes some drones to the Nidus. They're saying, all right, never mind, it looks like Snute is just going to abandon ship from this location and retreat most of his army. That was a pretty darn good hold from Alicia, because if that gets set up with those Swarm Hosts... Oh, he's trying to put another Nidus.
Oh, being sneaky here.
Oh my gosh.
Alicia's not going to see
this. This is the last thing Alicia would expect. Hey, I just killed the Nidus. He's not going to do it again.
But Snute also has to watch for the counterattack from Alicia. Swarm Host units that need to be set up. Oh, Alicia here's a Nidus. He's retreating now. Not wanting to get into a base trade against an opponent who has many bases.
Gonna burrow the Swarm Host as fast as possible. Alicia desperately trying to find out where that's coming from, and now he sees what's going on and realizing his potential mistake. Spore Crawler is being added on here. The Swarm Hosts are not burrowing finally. The Locust popping out, but does Alicia have enough to clean this up?
Oh, there's not too many Locusts being sent out right now. The Roaches and Queens doing what they can to keep the Protoss at bay. The Swarm Host unburrowing right before the next Locust wave, realizing that the Protoss is too close to them, not wanting to lose those very important units, retreating back through the Nidus Canal again.
Remember, behind this, Snute has that 4th base on the right-hand side of the map, trying to get that as saturated as possible, sending some Roaches and Hydras down towards that middle line to try to kill some more probes. Up to 13 workers killed for Snute. The workers are 95 to 64 in favor of Snute. That's a lot of drones, and he's continuing to churn out those Swarm Hosts. And I love just the flexibility of being able to, of having all these Swarm Hosts and having Nidus capabilities, because you can just send your Swarm Host through a Nidus, pop the Locusts out, and then send the Swarm Host right out of there. Really cool strategy here from Snute.
A beautiful play. They're also great use of the retreat function of the Nidus to preserve his units. Alicia, though, has a pretty scary army, and the Templar Archives is finishing up as well. 3 Colossi, several Void Rays. Once Templar get into play, it's going to be harder for the Vipers to really get the Abducts they need. Also, on this map, Snute has to know where their Protoss army is, so his Swarm Hosts are always ready to send Locusts in the correct direction.
Alicia posturing on the right-hand side, advancing towards this 4th base. Snute desperately trying to get those Swarm Hosts in the ground. Static D just now finishing here from Snute, but that's a lot of Protoss stuff. Void Ray, Stalkers, Colossi ripping apart the ground, the ground forces here of Snute as far as the Static D and the Locusts are concerned. But again, those are essentially free units here for Snute. It becomes problematic if the Protoss player gets enough momentum where your Swarm Hosts start becoming vulnerable. You're happy losing Locusts. It's fine losing those guys, but you do not want to lose your Swarm Hosts.
The Locusts are pushing forward yet again, and this time there's Vipers in play, although the Vipers are actually hanging back. Combining Vipers with Locusts is a great way to pick off important units. Of course, Locust damage is very high. The range is short. Abduct can kind of, basically is a way to mitigate the range by pulling the Protoss into the range of the Locusts.
Another Nidus coming down here from Snute again, facilitating reinforcements, now burrowing all of his Swarm Hosts outside his opponent's natural expansion. This can start breaking down the wall at a moment where I think it looks like +3 weapons upgrade is underway, but that Forge is going to die in a matter of seconds.
The one thing that Snute has to be careful with the central position, is having the Swarm Host. Exactly, but the Nidus Canal, if he's fast, is going to be a way to escape.
Gotta send him the right way. Gotta send
does
it to
he
the
know
left.
about the... Oh, no!
Alicia's waiting for it.
He's waiting for next wave of Locusts.
You have to have vision of this. Snute needs to have vision of his opponent's army, because right when Alicia sees those Locusts, he's going to pounce, and that's exactly what's going to happen here. Snute caught completely off guard, immediately unburrowing the Swarm Host and getting out of there through the Nidus Canal. Great reaction there from Snute. Oh, the feedback's going down onto the Infestors before they retreat.
Infestors not getting the memo to go into the Nidus Canal.
That was a great play there from Alicia.
It was, but the Nidus Canal allowed Snute to minimize the losses. Meanwhile, he's able to take out some probes here. Unfortunately, not quite getting that Nexus kill. But he continues to basically preserve his army. The downside is he hasn't been able to really do damage to Alicia's army.
Alicia's able to preserve his army too. It's like both these guys are being smart, keeping their expensive units alive. And now this base over here on the right-hand side that seemed secure a moment ago is going to be vulnerable here. So Alicia going to sprint on in here with his Stalkers, Void Rays, and Colossi going to take that hatchery out incredibly fast. And Snute needs to start thinking about taking that base on the left-hand side of the map. But Alicia securing a 4th base of his own.
Of course, what Alicia's going to try to do is work both sides of the map. Oh, great feedbacks on the Queens.
Got to be so
the Vipers
careful
come forward, but don't actually use any abilities.
This is too much. Snute losing track of his units for a second there, and Alicia going to take advantage. Blinking forward with the Stalkers. The Fungal's going down. High Templars leading the charge as well, looking for more feedbacks, looking for potential storms. A Locust Wave coming out here trying to preserve the life of this army. Snute continuing to back away, terrified of this Protoss army, and for good reason. The Colossi reigning supreme from above. Snute trying to come up with an answer.
Has he been able, I think he's been able to kill the Observer in these engagements using the Fungal Growths. So the Swarm Hosts are now going to be very effective at pushing the Protoss army back.
Of course, Spore Crawlers are going to be very important when dealing with the Void Rays. Heck, even the Colossi, the Stalker's going to blink forward toward this 4th base. Drone's going to have to retreat here. Remember, Alicia has a 4th base up behind this, and he's got to keep those expensive units alive. It looks like he's doing a great job of it right now, making all the right trades, I think. I feel like Alicia has an advantage here.
If he can take down this 4th base, he's going to be a base ahead. Of course, one of the key things here is Snute hasn't been able to get those abducts off against the key units of Alicia. And with the High Templar, Colossi, and Warrior all combined, the Swarm Hosts are very brave.
They are indeed, but Fungal's going down onto the Stalkers, and those Locusts are going to kill a lot. Wow, there's the recall from Alicia, getting out of there as fast as possible. 3 Stalkers missing the memo, and it looks like he recalled to that base on the left-hand side. Still a lot of Swarm Hosts alive here for Snute. So it's not like he's out of this by any reason, but I think Alicia has been doing a great job reacting to this composition of choice.
Beautiful play by both players going forward here. Snute with some great use in Nidus and Swarm Hosts, and Alicia really able to catch the Swarm Hosts off guard oftentimes, and also mitigate the Viper usage, which is one of the key elements in the late game Zerg play.
Right, we have some Zealots looking for additional expansions, going to march into that natural expansion. And that's going to be a bit of a headache to deal with, only 1 Spine Crawler there. But looks like plenty of Queens and Infestors are there as well, so shouldn't be too much of an issue. Snute able to take those Zealots out without too much worry. Meanwhile, again, trying to secure that base at the bottom right-hand side of the map, but Alicia marching towards that location, taking it out with Stalkers, Void Rays, and Colossi. And Alicia's army seems to be getting just scarier and scarier.
They're charging towards the Protoss. They're not burrowing and sending Locusts out. Oh, it could be a critical mistake by Snute. Alicia sees the moment.
Takes down 2 Swarm Hosts, 3, 4, 5. There goes some Storms onto the Locust. Alicia going for it right now. This is the stand he has chosen to make. Swarm Hosts incredibly vulnerable here from Snute. High Templars coming forward, throwing down feedbacks, throwing down storms, and melting away seemingly the army of the Zerg players. Snute still 2 observers in this competition. The Stalkers blinking forward too. Do not want another Locust wave coming up, and Snute is going to lose all of his Swarm Hosts, it looks like.
And Snute is being massacred here. With the Fungals, he's able to take out some of the Protoss force, but losing his entire Swarm Host core is going to cause him.
Takes game 1. There's the GG from Snute. What an intense game. A pretty back and forth, and also pretty cool playstyles from both players. Snute, you know, opening up with the 3 bases, but then, you know, going for that Queen play, but then transitioning into the Swarm Host, which is really cool. Even though I think he could have done a lot of damage with the Hydras, I think it shows a lot of patience and respect in going for the Swarm Host follow-up. But again, Alicia reacting pretty much perfectly and taking advantage of the small mistakes that Snute was making.
That's really what the game came down to. You know, battle after battle, Snute was missing the abducts. He was charging the Swarm Host into the Protoss army, and every time he did that, Alicia said, okay, I'll kill your Vipers if you send them too close. If you're going to send a Swarm Host forward without Locust support, I'll kill those 2. Every single little mistake Snute made Alicia was right there punishing him for that error.
There we see the Zerg army getting cleaned up by Alicia, securing his victory in game number 1 of this best of 3. But that's right, it is a best of 3. Snute is still in it, but he must win 2 in a row. Guys, stay tuned. You're watching WCS America round of 16. We're live here at the MLG studios in New York City. Game 2 between Snute and Alicia coming up.